Gentlemen, the next case in order is the state versus Mr. Adedas Michael Gates, or Michael Adeas Gates, excuse me. He is present along with his attorney. The state is represented by the ADA. I will turn it over to Mr. Huslak to let him begin his case. Mr. Huslak, you're on mute, sir.
Sorry about that, Judge.
That's right.
This is the state of Georgia versus Adedas Gates. We are here for a preliminary hearing on a series of warrants. These warrants are 20W00279, numbered sequentially all the way up through 20W00306. The state's witness will be Officer B.J. Merrill.
All right. Officer Merrill, are you ready, sir?
Yes.
Okay, you may proceed.
Officer, can you please raise your right hand for me? You swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to provide this court is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I swear.
Thank you, sir. You can put your hand down, and if you could please state your first and last name.
Brian Merrill.
And where are you employed?
With the Gwinnett County Police Department.
And how long have you been with the police department?
This is my 8th year here.
And what position do you currently hold?
Right now I'm a corporal at the training center with the recruits.
Thank you. And are you a post-certified peace officer?
Yes.
And are you familiar with the defendant, Adedas Gates?
Yes, I am.
And are you the law enforcement officer that sought the warrants that I read out a moment ago?
I am.
Can you please describe for us the facts and circumstances that led to you seeking those warrants?
Yeah, this is going to be 2 different case numbers involved, so I'll break down each one in order. The first one was an armed robbery on 7/27/2019. That one, it'll be case number 190687884. This is a armed robbery where our victim, Prempe Bonsu, was on Craigslist interacting with a suspect about purchasing a MacBook. Basically, what they set up was they were going to meet at the Walmart located at 3435 Centerville Highway in Snellville, which is in the city limits of Gwinnett County, to do the transaction for the MacBook. Once Mr. Bonsu got on the scene at Walmart, 2 men approached the car, got in the car. 2 men approached the car. Mr. Bonsu asked if they were selling the MacBook. They said that they have the items to sell. They both suspects got in the car, both brandished a firearm, and at that point robbed Mr. Bonsu in the Walmart parking lot. They took $6,000 in cash, credit cards, his driver's license with his current address, as well as his house keys. That was the, first incident. With that, the suspect used a stolen credit card at Walmart in Noonan on July 29, 2019. So it was 2 days after the robbery. We went down to Noonan Walmart and obtained a photo image from the self-checkout register where the stolen credit card was used. And at that point, we began our investigation. Now, on this case, this was, again, 7/27/2019. I was not the lead detective. Detective Joseph Boyd, who was also working robbery at that time, was the lead detective on this case. After we got the photo image, we continued working the case, but we could not identify the individual that we basically obtained that photo image from the Walmart. So the cards that were stolen on this incident were used 4 times by the suspect in and around the Noonan and Atlanta area. Now, going forward on that case, Detective Boyd defended that case with no leads and nothing to follow up on. That brings us to the second case.
Judge, can I just briefly and just ask if you can give us the dates that those cards were used?
Certainly.
Okay. In and around Noonan and Atlanta. Thanks, Judge.
Yes, sir.
If he knows, sorry.
Just hold on one second.
And then after you answer that, Corporal, I have something else I'm going to ask you before you proceed with the next case.
Okay. here we go. All right, so the fourth transaction on the first case where the credit cards were stolen was at a Chevron gas station located at 3850 Black Shoals Road, Union City, Georgia, 30291. That was on July 29th, 2019, 2 days after the robbery. The second transaction was at a Shell gas station located at 902 Donald Lee Hollowell Parkway, Atlanta, Georgia, 30318. That was on July 28th, 2019, 1 day after. Third one was at Swifty Car Wash, located at 1159 Moreland Avenue, Atlanta, Georgia, 30316. That was also on July 28th, 2019. And then the fourth one was the Walmart location. It's 1025 Georgia, 34 Noonan, Georgia, 30265. That was on July 29th, 2019 at 6:39 p.m. The charge was for $196.95. And again, that's where we got the photographic image from the self-checkout line of Walmart.
Now, Corporal, before you go, Mr. Lewis, did that answer your question?
It does. I didn't mean to hijack the prosecutor's case. I know because there are two cases, I don't want to start mixing them up. I'm going to ask some more questions about that, but I just thought that was super important. Thank you, Judge.
Yes, sir.
And actually, along those same lines, just to make sure that we keep all of this clear on the record. So, Corporal Merrill, I know that you haven't told us exactly yet how you ultimately identified this defendant as being the perpetrator of those crimes.
Right.
But I want to make sure my paperwork is right. Would I be correct in assuming that the facts you've described already from July 27, 2019 ultimately resulted in you obtaining 4 of these warrants?
Yes.
And that would be warrants 20W00280 all the way through 20W00283 and the 2 in between?
That's correct.
Thank you. So all the other remaining incident warrants are related to the other case you're about to tell us about?
Yes, sir.
Thank you, sir. From there, I'll turn it back over to you.
Okay. All right. So the second incident was on 11/15/2019. This was a home invasion located at the same victim's home address, which is, again, Prempeh Bonsu. Sorry, hold on one second. Okay, so the home invasion was at 3467 Pembroke Farmway in Snellville, Georgia. Again, this is in the city limits of Gwinnett County. Prempeh Bonsu had just arrived home. It was about 9:18 at night, and when he opened the door, he went in to go get his car keys to transport his vehicles to a friend's house because he was having a roofing project done at his house. When he went in to go get the keys, he left the storm door, the front door open. There was a storm door there, but it was not locked. So at that point, he went to the kitchen. Once he went into the kitchen and turned around, 3 suspects came into the residence through the front door. At that point, all 3 of the suspects had firearms. Mr. Prempeh Bonsu was again exiting his kitchen, going back towards the front door when he saw these individuals, and at that point started panicking. Inside the living room, and just to describe it, so when you walk in Mr. Bonsu's front door, immediately to the right is the living room, and then if you go down the hallway is the kitchen. Immediately in the living room to the right was Mr. Bonsu's 3 children, Michael, age 9, Betsy, age 4, and Matthew, age 7. Those individuals, as far as the perpetrators that came in the house, one individual immediately went up the stairs. The other 2 stayed with Mr. Bonsu, ordered him to the living room, and ordered him to the ground along with his son, Matthew, age 7, down to the ground. The other suspect, which is going to be identified later in this case as Mr. Gates, was consequently the individual that took Michael and Betsy and moved them at gunpoint from the living room to the downstairs bathroom, closed and locked the door on them, and told them not to move. At that point, Mr. Gates, and again, we haven't gotten to the point where how I identified him, and I'll get there. But at that point, the individual came back, ordered Mr. Bonsu and Matthew, again, who's age 7, up from the ground and moved them upstairs at gunpoint, where Mr. Bonsu's wife, Betty, was also being held at gunpoint already. Once they entered the master bedroom, they were ordered back to the ground at gunpoint, and they started demanding money. and basically stated to Mr. Bonsu, as well as his wife Betty, lay on the floor, they demanded money, or they said, "I will shoot your kids," quote unquote, from the statements that I got from Mr. Bonsu. During that home invasion, they took $1,000, a total of 6 credit cards, 3 phones, 2 tablets, and house and vehicle keys to the car and the house that they were currently robbing. So that concludes that portion of that, and now we'll get into my investigation of how we got to identifying Mr. Gates. All right, so on November 20th, 2019, which is about 5 days after the incident occurred, I spoke with Mr. Bonsu again, and he indicated that he got significant alerts from fraudulent credit card charges that were stolen during the home invasion. And he got, in fact, a total of 12 different locations, again, in and around Atlanta, and I can give you each individual location if you want me to do that now.
Sure.
Okay. All right, so the first 3, one's at a Foot Locker located at 2841 Greenbrier Parkway, space H422, Atlanta, Georgia, 30331. That was at 12:51 p.m. on November 16th, 2019 for $84.73. Second one was at Route 21, located at 3616 Marketplace Boulevard, Suite 640, East Point, Georgia, 30344. That is at 11:12 a.m. on November 16th, 2019. That was for $192.27. That individual charge there was attempted twice in about a 7-minute time frame. The third one was Waffle House, located at 1227 Virginia Avenue, East Point, Georgia, 30344. That was at 3:16 a.m. in the morning on November 16th, 2019 for $28.55. The last 2 that I just gave you as far as Route 21 and Waffle House. Route 21 is where I got video surveillance of the individual using those cards at the register. And then the third one, which is Waffle House, I got photographic image obtained from the Waffle House register where basically he was using the fraudulent charge.
He who?
Mr. Gates.
Okay.
Okay, so the fourth one, and again, there's 12, so it's going to be a minute. So the fourth one's DTLR Sneakers, 3614 Marketplace Boulevard, East Point, Georgia. That was at 11:19 in the morning on November 16, 2019. That was for $308.16. Next one's Jimmy Jazz, located at 2841 Greenbrier Parkway, Atlanta, Georgia, 30331. That was again on the 16th of November. Sixth is Underground, located at 2841 Greenbrier Parkway, Atlanta, Georgia, 30331, also on the 16th. Exxon Evergreen Food Mart is the next one. That's at 1959 Lakewood Avenue, Atlanta, Georgia, 30315. That was at 1:58 p.m. on November 16, 2019 for $6.04. Number 8 was Miss Winters, located at 2430 McAlpine Terrace, East Point, Georgia, 30344. That was at 2:20 p.m. on November 16, 2019 for $13.99. Ninth is Foot Locker, which is the same Foot Locker as the first original charge on Greenbrier Parkway. That was at 3:56. The first one was at 12:51, just to reference back. This one again is at 3:56 p.m., and that's also on November 16, 2019 for $179.68. That one was also attempted twice at the register consecutively. Number 10 is Chevron, located at 4485 Washington Road, East Point, Georgia, 30344. That was at 5:31 p.m. on November 16. 11 is American Wings at 890 Cleveland Avenue, East Point, Georgia. That's at 5:58 p.m. on November 16, 2019 for $18.86. And then again, the DTLR Sneakers, which again, that was the second attempt with number 12, same location, 3614 Marketplace Boulevard. That's at 11:20 a.m. on November 16 for $96.30. So that's all the charges from the second incident after the home invasion and robbery.
All right.
All right. So once we got this information, we obviously started going to these locations to try and obtain video surveillance in regards to who is actually using the cards to track us down here. So we went to the locations, and again, just referencing back to what I said earlier, the Route 21, we were able to obtain the video surveillance of the individual using the cards at the registers. That was again, video surveillance, and then the Waffle House is where we got a photographic evidence of the same suspect in the same clothing, black hoodie, blue jeans, white sneakers, using the card again. With that information and with that evidence that we obtained from Route 21 and Waffle House, we compared it to the new Walmart photo that we got back on July 29, 2019. Those images from Waffle House and Route 21 are very, very similar resemblance and match to the Walmart Noonan photos. At that point, I ran the Waffle House, by the way, has, I don't know if they have like new technology, but the photograph we got from Waffle House was very clear, and it was clear enough for us to use that in facial recognition software. So Corporal Jason Allen, who is working homicide at that time, he's now Sergeant Allen, was using a facial software program called DataWorks. We ran the photo image that we got and obtained from Waffle House through the DataWorks software program, and they rate their scores for facial recognition out of 1,000%. Mr. Gates was identified 991% out of 1,000 from the DataWorks facial recognition software program. That's how we got Mr. Gates's information, name, date of birth, and other, photographic images of him from prior arrests and things like that. With that information, the photos, the videos, the facial recognition, we conducted a photo lineup with Mr. Bonsu on 12/19/19. We had Mr. Bonsu come into Gwinnett County Police Headquarters and do a photographic lineup that included Mr. Michael Adedas Gates. Mr. Bonsu immediately picked out Mr. Gates and stated, quote unquote, okay, so Mr. Bonsu immediately picked out Mr. Gates and said, quote unquote, he is the individual that robbed me in July, and he robbed me in my house. At that point, I obtained the warrant on Mr. Gates, and at that point in the investigation, Mr. Gates was not in custody, and we did not know where his whereabouts, so that's kind of concluded our investigation on that note. We were still currently working further leads to identify the other two individuals and suspects that were also in the house that night. But again, that's still ongoing.
Thank you. Now, Corporal, let me ask you, are you able to identify Mr. Gates on any of the screens that you can see right now?
Yeah, he's on jail court video number 3. He's got a mask on with a white background. And the only reason I can identify him is through the images that I've seen from the stores as well as his photos.
Yes, sir. And then, so for both of the cases, the armed robbery inside from the vehicle as well as the home invasion, did those occur in Gwinnett County?
Yes, they did.
Thank you. I believe those are the only questions I have for you right now.
All right, Mr. Lewis.
Thank you. Is Investigator Merrill?
It used to be, not anymore. Now they moved me over to training, so now it's instructor. But it's whatever you want to call me. So
Okay, I'm going to call you Investigator Merrill for purposes of prelim.
Right.
And I'm very grateful because with these number of warrants, I was actually able to follow what's going on. But I do have some questions on cross-examination.
Okay.
On July 27, 2019, Mr. Bonsuit was communicating via Craigslist for the sale or purchase of a MacBook. Is that right?
Yes.
Did your investigation or the prior investigator's investigation revealed who that Craigslist account was listed to?
He did work it, and again, I'll have to reference back with Detective Boyd in that instance, but from what it sounds like as far as the synopsis I received on that case, it didn't go anywhere.
Okay, that's fine. My client wasn't linked to that Craigslist account, is that right?
From my understanding, no.
Okay, you indicated... Oh, that's fine. It's just based on your understanding. 2 men approached the car there for the purchase and or sale of the MacBook, and each one produced a gun. Is that right?
Yeah, once they were in the car, the guns came out.
Okay, nobody was wearing a mask, I'm assuming, otherwise Mr. Bonsu probably wouldn't have let them get into the car, so nobody was wearing a mask, is that right?
That's correct.
Obviously, my client, Mr. Gates, has a tattoo on his neck. And now he has one. Did Mr. Bonsu indicate at any point in time that one of the perpetrators may have had a tattoo on his neck?
I'll have to check on it. To be honest with you, I can't answer it honestly because I have to go back to the original officer's statements, report.
That's fine. And you indicated that there were 4 locations: Chevron, Shell, Swifty, and Walmart. Chevron, Shell, and Swifty. Did they have surveillance video?
Yeah, we attempted to obtain that video surveillance. We were unable to get it.
Okay, so you only have the Walmart from the July 29, 2019.
That's right.
And it appears from that July 29, 2019 Walmart and one or more of the locations after the home invasion that the person that perpetrated the crime was in both of those surveillance videos using the cards. Is that right?
You're saying in reference to the 27th incident?
Yeah, July 29th at Walmart appears to match somebody in one or more of the other series of uses of credit cards after the home invasion. Is that right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Were there any fingerprints taken from that armed robbery, July 27, 2019, from inside the car?
CSI was, let's see. No, there wasn't.
Okay, that's fine. Did Mr. Bonsu or did your investigation or the prior investigator's investigation reveal who the second male might be?
Again, we had leads, and he wasn't really going anywhere with the case as far as there was no ground. He couldn't identify anyone, so that's why he had subsequently suspended that case back in July.
Okay, that's fine. You indicate 3 individuals were described as entering the home on November 15, 2019. Have the other 2 been identified?
No, not at this time.
Okay, when the cards were being used in the 12 incidents, and again, forgive me for not remembering how many surveillance videos were produced, but in the 12 uses, in the 12 fraudulent uses of the credit card where there were surveillance videos, is there more than Mr. Gates that appears in those videos?
On just one of them, which was Route 21, he was with another individual and suspect that was still being worked as far as the home invasion end of it.
Okay, good. I'm going to ask you a few questions about the app since it sounds like it was the app that identified my client. It sounds like you know a little bit about it and know enough about it to say that it at least uses prior arrest photos to try to identify the person that you're asking for help to identify. Is that fair to say?
From my understanding, yes. And I wasn't, so just to be clear, to clarify anything that on your end, I wasn't actually running the program. It was being used by, again, Corporal Allen, he's now Sergeant Allen at that time. So he knows the ins and outs. I just know kind of a quick assessment.
I understand, I understood that the first time. I, of course, have no familiarity with it, so you may have some. You believe that it uses prior arrest photos to try and identify the person that you're seeking to identify. Is that fair to say?
Yeah, so it goes through, from my understanding, DL photos, driver's license photos, as well as, jail photos that might have basically happened or occurred in the past.
Okay, and that really was my question. Does it use anything other than the prior arrest? Thank you very much. So I just want to go through some of these warrants here because you have 5 counts of armed robbery. I'm assuming there's a warrant for each of the 5 people that were located in the residence. Is that fair to say?
Yes.
Okay. And you have 5 aggravated assaults. I'm assuming that's because each of the 3 males had a gun and there were 5 people inside. Is that right?
That's correct.
The 2 kidnappings relate to the children that were moved from one location to the other?
So the 2 kidnappings on Mr. Gates was for his son, who's age 7, who was transported from living room to the floor, then from the floor all the way up the stairs to the master bedroom and back on the floor along with Mr. Bonsuit.
Okay, the threats were for the, we're gonna kill the children, is that right?
That's right.
Okay, and the 3 false imprisonments relate to the people that were, locked somewhere or held somewhere, is that right?
That's right. So again, Betty, his wife, was upstairs being held at gunpoint when he brought up Mr. Bonsu and the son, as well as the 2 children that were put into a bathroom and locked in the bathroom and told not to move.
The three cruelty to children, and the first is obviously for the 3 children, is that right?
That's right.
And I think you have 2 financial transaction card thefts, is that right?
Yeah. So again, with there was a lot of them, and I read them off. In total, I think there was 16. I didn't want to go through 16 charges at that point. I had video surveillance of him at least 2 from my investigation, and that's why I only went with 2 from Route 21 and Waffle House.
Okay, since he has been arrested, has anybody spoken to my client, Mr. Gates?
I'll be honest with you, I didn't know he was arrested until I got a subpoena.
Okay, that's fine. So the judge will understand. I said, no, nobody spoke. That's fine. And it's fair to say then that nobody else that may have been acting in concert with Mr. Gates has been arrested. Is that right?
Not at this time.
All right.
That's my understanding, and I could find out for you later.
All right. Thank you very much. I don't have any further questions, Judge. Thank you.
All right. Mr. Huslak, anything to follow up?
Just very briefly, that I just want to make sure I took that down correctly. So investigator, you indicated that besides the facial recognition software, Mr. Gates was also identified by Mr. Bonsu from a photo lineup, correct?
Yes.
And you said that he was able to easily identify Mr. Gates?
Yes, that was, sorry. So the photo lineup was done on December 19th, 2019. Mr. Bonsu immediately identified Mr. Gates and again stated right away that he robbed him in July and he was the one that robbed me in my house.
And that was going to be my question. I just wanted to make sure that identification pertained to both separate crimes and not just one of the incidents.
That's both.
Judge, I have 2 other questions, Judge, if I may briefly. Investigator, did Mr. Bosu at any time indicate that any of the 3 males that entered his home during the home invasion were wearing masks?
Yes, all 3 of them were. So Mr. Bonsu has several cameras in his house. He has a Ring camera on the front. Actually, he's put up significantly more, but he had a Ring doorbell camera, but then he also had interior cameras. Unfortunately, the interior cameras were shut off when they're home because the alerts drive him crazy on his phone. The Ring doorbell camera picked up the 3 males wearing masks. When they came inside the house, originally they had masks on. As things were progressing, those masks came off.
Okay, so you can see the face of the 3 perpetrators inside. Is that right?
That's correct.
Okay. Were there any fingerprints pulled from inside the house by CSI?
So CSI processed it. They had gloves on as well, so we were not able to get any fingerprints from the incident scene.
Okay. Fair to say there were no shots fired and nobody was physically injured. Is that fair to say?
That's correct.
What type of work does Mr. Bonsuit do, if you know?
I asked him that. He works at Home Depot. He also he works at Home Depot, but then he does what did he say? I have to go back. It's been a long time, but he does. I know he has a side business where he does. I forget what it is, but it's in the notes and it's in the report. But his main job, he works at Home Depot.
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you, Judge.
Thank you.
All right, Judge. One final question.
Sure.
And just since we got into the mask wearing, I just wanted to confirm with the investigator that for the first incident, the armed robbery at the vehicle, that none of the defendants were wearing masks on that for that one.
Right. As he pulled up, there were just 2 people walking up to the car trying to do a transaction. That's what he intended.
Thank you.
I don't have any further questions. Thank you, Judge.
All right. All right. Mr. Huslak, any other witnesses?
No, Judge.
All right. I'll turn it over to you, Mr. Lewis. Any evidence?
Judge, no witnesses, no witnesses, no argument. We'll submit that.
All right. Very good, gentlemen. I will bind all the warrants over as charged in regards to the defendant, Adedas Michael Gates. It's numerous warrants Again, I'll just reference them generally as starting at 20W-00279. Going on to the last warrant in order is 20W 00306-9. All right. Is there any other issues we need to deal with at this
No,
point?
Judge, we'll deal with bond over Superior Court. Thank you.
Wonderful. He's with the deputies. Thank you.
Thank you, Judge.